Something I've noticed, people who act like they don't care rarely actually don't care. They've just learned how to stop showing it. And if you've ever been on the receiving end of that, it can feel confusing, hurtful, even personal. But what if their indifference has very little to do with you and everything to do with what they have experienced? Welcome back to Marilyn Mars Odyssey. Let us step in to this conversation. Let's talk about something many people experience but don't fully understand: emotional indifference. The person who seems distant, unbothered, unresponsive, and leaves you wondering, do they even care? Something I've noticed is this: people who appear emotionally indifferent are often not empty, they are guarded. Indifference is not always a personality, it is often a protection strategy. Let's take a moment to understand why some people become indifferent. Now, there are reasons behind the behavior. One, emotional overload. They felt too much for too long. Two, past hurt. They've been disappointed or let down. Three, learned behavior. They were never taught how to express emotions. Four, self protection. They believe feeling less is equal to hurting less. Think about someone who has been rejected repeatedly, experienced betrayal, and felt unheard. At some point, they stop expressing, not because they don't feel, but because they don't feel safe to. Now, here's where we shift. You cannot always change how someone shows up, but you can change how you interpret it, how you respond to it, and how you allow it to affect you. Don't take indifference personally. It is often not about you. Don't keep pouring into someone who is not receptive. You have to set emotional boundaries. Express how you feel without accusation. Don't string yourself to match someone else's distance. So focus on your own emotional health. Choose environments that support you. Not everyone is meant to be your emotional support system. Here is the power shift from why are they treating me this way to what power do I have in this situation while dealing with a person who seems not to care. One of the most freeing lessons you can learn, my friends, is this: you may not be able to change how people treat you, but you can change how much power their behavior has over your life. We spend so much emotional energy trying to change other people, We explain ourselves, we try harder, we give more, we become more accommodating, we wait for them to recognize our value, and sometimes after doing all of that, nothing changes. That's when the power shift has to happen. Instead of constantly saying, how could I make them appreciate me? Begin asking, how can I change within my own control? There are four areas where you still have tremendous power. Yes. One, you can change your awareness. Awareness means finally seeing the relationship for what it is, not merely for what you hope it will become. Sometimes we know we are being tolerated long before we're willing to admit it. You notice you're rarely included unless you're useful. You notice you are always initiating communication. You notice people celebrate one another but barely acknowledges you. You notice you're constantly giving, helping, supporting, and showing up, but very little comes back in your direction. And sometimes we explain it away by saying, oh, they're just too busy, they have a lot going on. So they may not have the time to spare to appreciate me or to show me any attention or love. We say things like, maybe I'm expecting too much. We start looking at ourselves and blaming ourselves for what is happening to us. Maybe if I do a little more, yeah, we keep overextending ourselves. Awareness says, however, I am going to stop making excuses for patterns that repeatedly hurt me. Let me say that again. I am going to stop making excuses for patterns that repeatedly hurt me. Now, one incident doesn't define an entire relationship. Bear in mind, sometimes people have bad days, people get distracted, or people make mistakes. But when something becomes a consistent pattern, you need to start paying attention. Don't ignore what your experience is repeatedly showing you. Awareness is powerful because you cannot change a pattern you refuse to acknowledge. Number two, you can change your expectations. Yes. This one can be painful, my friends. Sometimes our disappointment isn't only coming from what people are doing, it's coming from what we keep expecting them to become. You keep expecting the emotionally unavailable person to suddenly become emotionally supportive. You keep expecting the friend who rarely reciprocates to eventually treat the friendship the way you do. Hmm. You keep expecting people who have repeatedly demonstrated limited interest in you to suddenly recognize everything you bring to the table. And every time they don't, you are hurt all over again. Changing your expectations doesn't mean becoming cynical, it means becoming realistic. Stop expecting from people what they have repeatedly demonstrated they are unwilling or unable to give. You can care about someone and still adjust your expectations of them. Let me repeat that. You can care about someone and still adjust your expectations of them. You can love someone without depending upon them for something they have consistently shown they cannot provide. Sometimes peace comes when you stop trying to collect emotional payment from people who simply don't have the currency. That's a difficult lesson, but it's freeing. Number three, you can change your environment. And this doesn't always mean dramatically cutting everyone out of. Sometimes changing your environment simply means changing your level of access and participation. Maybe you stop spending every weekend with people who constantly make you feel insignificant. Maybe you stop volunteering for everything in an organization where you've become exhausted and resentful. Maybe you stop forcing yourself into conversations where you are repeatedly ignored. Maybe you intentionally begin connecting with people who share your values, encourage your growth, and genuinely enjoy your presence. Sometimes we are praying for better relationships while spending all of our time maintaining unhealthy ones. You need to create room. And here's something important. Leaving the wrong table doesn't guarantee you will immediately find the right one. There may be a season when your circle becomes smaller. That can feel uncomfortable, but temporary solitude can sometimes be healthier than permanent rejection. Give yourself permission to find environments where you don't have to constantly audition for belonging. Number four, you can change your emotional strength. This may be the greatest shift of all. Emotional strength means that somebody else's inability to appreciate you no longer determines how you see yourself. Before their rejection could ruin your entire day. Their silence make you question yourself. Their exclusion made you wonder, what's wrong with me? Their approval make you feel valuable. Their disapproval made you feel worthless. But as you become emotionally strong, something changes. You begin saying, I would prefer to be appreciated, but I don't need someone else's appreciation to prove that I have value. That's freedom. That is freedom. Emotional strength doesn't mean you stop feeling hurt because you're human and rejection can hurt. Being overlooked can hurt. Being taken for granted can hurt. The difference is that hurt no longer gets to define you. You feel it, you process it, you learn from it, and then you keep moving. You stop handing other people the authority to determine your emotional temperature. And this is where everything changes. You stop saying, why wouldn't they appreciate me? And start saying, why am I continuing to place myself where I repeatedly feel unappreciated? You stop asking, how can I make things them change? And start asking, what needs to change in me so that their behavior no longer controls my life? That's the power shift. You don't control their behavior, but you control your boundaries. You don't control their opinion, but you can strengthen your identity. You don't control whether they include you, but you can decide where you invest your presence. You don't control whether they recognize your worth, but you can stop forgetting it yourself. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson. You don't have to convince everybody that you're valuable before you begin treating yourself like you are. Go where there is reciprocity. Go where there is respect. Go where your presence matters. And when you cannot immediately change your environment, strengthen yourself enough that the environment no longer gets to define you. Because being appreciated begins with something deeper. Learning to appreciate yourself enough to stop begging others to do it for you. Hallelujah. We have come to a reflective moment. My question is, have you been trying to get emotional depth from someone who is emotionally unavailable? And what would change if you stop expecting them to give what they cannot give? Something I've learned after having a reflective moment is this: not everyone who is distant is meant to be close, and not everyone who is quiet is ready to connect. But you, my friend, have the power to choose where you invest your energy. Understanding others help you understand yourself, and understanding yourself helps you to live better. Thank you for staying with me to the end of this video. Now I want to hear from you. This conversation doesn't end when the video ends. It continues with you. So share your thoughts, experiences, and the lesson you have learned in the comments below. Your insight may be exactly what someone else needs to read today. And tell me, what should we talk about next? What life situation, relationship challenge, mindset struggle, or lesson would you like us to explore together? Leave your topic in the comments. You may inspire one of our next conversations. Remember, this is Marilyn Mars Odyssey, where every conversation is part of the journey and your voice is part of that journey. Comment, I choose peace over confusion. Like this video if it gave you clarity. Share with someone who needs understanding. Subscribe for more deep life changing conversations. See you in the next conversation. If you enjoy thoughtful conversations about life, wisdom, and personal growth, make sure to subscribe, join the community, and explore the videos on this channel. And as you watch,